Hi everyone, this is Balazs from Racing Brick. I'm sure some of you are confused by the title and don't know what this video is even about, so let's clear that up first. I have two sets here that were recently released. One is already available for purchase, which is the 10341 NASA Artemis Space Launch System, and the other will be available from the 1st of June, which is the 10333 Lord of the Rings Barad-dûr. At first glance there are not many similarities, except that technically both contain a tower, and of course both are LEGO sets. But there's another aspect I want to talk about today, and that is the fact that both belong to the LEGO Icons team. There are already several reviews on these two, so I will show you some details and interesting aspects, but after that I will get some other recent icon releases and focus on my concerns about this kind of categorization. So first we will see what LEGO is offering with these two here, and then I will tell you why I think the LEGO Icons team as a whole should be discontinued.
What?
Let's get started. Technically, this set arrived first, so let's start with the Artemis SLS. I'm sure you will immediately get strong Saturn V vibes. This was the last very similar set from LEGO. I have it right here next to the set. You can immediately see the similarities but also some differences, which unfortunately includes the scale. The set has 3601 pieces, the price is 260 euros or dollars, and as I mentioned, you can already buy it on lego.com. It was designed by Hans. This is his first icon set, but I'm sure you know him because he was with the Star Wars team for 8 years and has designed many memorable sets. Apparently he couldn't run very far from the theme, this is a spaceship after all. The box has the usual icons look despite being released intentionally for LEGO's Big Space Year. As you may have seen, several sets have the special space logo, but not this one. Apparently the marketing team decided to keep the black distinctive look. Skipping a few usual steps, here are the bags. Two aspects are particularly important at this stage. Most of the bags have grey content, which means we will be building the platform and the tower most of the time, and here's the sticker sheet with lots of little stickers to apply. A few quick highlights from the building process. We start with the box, not very exciting, although it does contain some details. Here's a funny one, the Octane reference with the colorful parts hidden in the tail service mast umbilicals that provide liquid oxygen and hydrogen. This is how the tower is constructed. There is an inner colorful core, the dark bluish gray cover and the first elements of the lattice structure. And then you add more, and even more, and the tower is finished. Then comes the core stage of the rocket. The inner structure is quite simple, but it works well. The solid rocket boosters have a long Technic cross-axle core on which you simply stack the elements. And this is the end result. I think it looks pretty impressive at first glance. There's a lot of detail, the rocket looks quite big and the build has a fairly small footprint on the shelf. The base has these cutouts on the sides to show some internal structures, like the stairs made of gear racks, and we also have this little metal door on the side to demonstrate the scale. The tower itself has a considerable amount of detail, although it's much busier in reality. I like the mix of Technic and system elements, which looks good from a distance. There is a Technic linkage system to simulate the movement of the various umbilicals. The stabilizing arm is connected to a single stud on each side. The rocket is fairly stable by the way, the support is quite realistic, except for that black assembly in the center. We also have these taskbars that symbolize the cables. The access arm for the crew can be moved manually. Apart from these functions, the different sections can be separated. The boosters can be disconnected. Then we have the core stage, and in the upper part is the Orion spacecraft with the crew module and the launch abort system on top. The Orion can also be displayed separately on this stand. There is a replacement piece for this case and a small plaque with a sticker. Well, stickers. There are a lot of them, but also a whole lot of printed parts. As the designer mentioned, the budget was changed during the development of the set, so it ended up having more stickers than expected. Here it is again next to the Saturn V, unfortunately their scales don't really match. The scale here was determined by several factors, the price and some core elements such as the transition between the first and second stage, because there are not many parts to make this look right. Unfortunately, from a building experience perspective, we spend most of the time on the base and the tower with a lot of repetition. The rocket and the spaceship itself only comes at the very end. It's not an overly complex build by the way, the end result looks good, but it takes some dedication to get to that point. And now for Barad-dûr. This is the second major Lord of the Rings set after the reboot of the theme, the first being Rivendell. It has 5,471 pieces, the price is 460 euros or dollars, and it will be available from the 1st of June. It comes in a massive box, The black background and orange glow go well with it. We get tons of paper bags and 3 manuals with 3 separate building stages, and also a sticker sheet. There are a lot of stickers. You might think the build is a huge all black thing, but there are a few colors included. The first stage actually has a lot of them. We have rocks around the blaze with lava flows, and the color is gradually changing. It looks like being lit from below. It looks pretty cool. The walls have some nice details, even if the building is a bit repetitive at this stage. Inside there are lots of things to see, and I was pleased to find some mechanical functions with Technic elements. This is the opening mechanism for the impressive main gate. It's a bit tight but works well. The knob, or rather the piece of stone that operates it, is well hidden on the outside. We can also use this black gear to raise and lower the cage of this poor soul here. Directly above Golem's cave with the fish is a hidden spider. The second floor still has some colors on the outside, although it's mostly grey. Inside is the dining hall for the orcs, with lots of detail, but I'm not sure it should be this organized. There is also hidden storage in this section, this time a sticker with 3 elven rings. The next level is the throne room, dominated by the rock pattern on the outside. Inside there is a cool throne, some stickered banners and a nice mechanism that splits the throne in half to reveal the palantir and the map on the wall. The tower section is mostly black, which is a shame, because there are a lot of cool details and parts that you don't recognize at first glance, like these fin pieces around the door or all the decoration here. There's not a lot of space inside, and it heavily relies on big stickers on large curved surfaces, which isn't very pleasant to apply, by the way. The ladder here is built sideways and can be rotated, which I like. The eye at the top is literally one of the highlights of the set. It's bright, colorful and has some very cool part usage with these fender pieces. It can be rotated and swiveled and is also illuminated by this light brick. The assembly of the different sections is quite clever. We have slots down here where we can slide the assemblies in, then the tower is secured with this Technic cross axle. The whole thing is very robust. We've got an extra side build for the Mount Doom scene, and here are all the minifigures including Frodo, Sam, Gollum, angry orcs with brand new gear, the Mouth of Sauron and for the first time Sauron himself. I will leave it to the experts to judge the accuracy of the set and the characters. I would rather talk about the building aspect. I was expecting the build to be stressful and monotonous due to the predominant black color, but it was actually better. There are repetitive areas, but not many. It takes time to assemble everything, but it's not that complex. If we compare it to the previous Lord of the Rings set, the form factor is quite different, and honestly that set was way more challenging to build and had some very tricky solutions. And here we are with the comparison. Neither of these two builds are very complex, they look quite big. This one obviously has a higher piece count and a higher price tag, but they can literally be built by anyone, no big challenges. Now we have learned that the 18+ age recommendation says nothing about the complexity of the build. The Icons theme is aimed at adults, but not necessarily AFOs. You don't have to be an experienced builder. But that doesn't apply to the whole range. Here's the radio I liked so much, with some quite tricky Technic solutions in it. It's not very complicated, but there are some stages where an inexperienced builder might run into problems. Then my other favorite from this year, the Dune Ornithopter. An ingenious design, practically a Technic set in disguise, with all these mechanical functions. It's a real challenge to build, but still has the same age rating and theme as the others here. And I could add more just from this year. The McLaren MP44, a classic Formula 1 car that is not so difficult to build, similar to the Kingfisher but with a completely different theme. And if we go back to last year, there are tons of sets under the Icons umbrella. There are flowers, cars that also have different building experiences and difficulty levels, the Concorde, Pac-Man, so many sets that look and feel very different. Before the introduction of the 18+ age rating, the maximum was 16+, and we knew that these sets were the most demanding, regardless of the subject matter. But the LEGO themes are also there to narrow down the subject, sometimes the age group as well, and in these themes the age rating helps determine the complexity of the build. Right now it seems that LEGO has dozens of themes for kids and a single one for adults. Okay, actually there are 3. There's the Art series, which are all 18+, and Idea seems to have sets for that audience as well. Still, I don't think the uniform 18+ age rating helps customers, especially those building for the first time. And even the designers seem to be confused. When I asked about the age rating and target audience, Some Icons designers said it's an 18 plus set and therefore it can be challenging since it's meant for adults, while others say it should be kept simple since it might be their first build. I think both of these sets can be built by anyone, but that's not always the case. LEGO seems to be releasing more and more sets each year that are heavily focused on the adult customer. I think it would really be time to split up the Icons theme and create sub-themes to help customers figure out which set is ready for them. Or, and this would probably be best, introduce a new rating system for these sets that marks the complexity of the build. So, what do you think of these two sets and the Icons theme in general? Have you built something that turned out to be too difficult, or was it easier than you thought? Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, as there will be more exciting LEGO videos coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.